Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has ended over 50 years of Disney's self-governing status in Florida. Why did DeSantis end it? And how did Disney own an entire city to begin with? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Matt Ganejda, filling in for Chris Chappell. In theory, American democracy is pretty simple. Citizens vote for representatives, and those representatives vote on laws that affect citizens. In theory, it's a perfect system. In reality, though, other, shall we say, entities get involved in the lawmaking process, like corporations. Last week, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill stripping Disney of its self-governing authority in the state, which has left a lot of people going, Disney's what? Yeah, you heard that right. Their self-governing authority, meaning they basically had their own city. So Cinderella's castle was for real? There's a monarchy in the middle of Orlando? Does that mean Disney could lock you up for stealing one of those famous turkey legs? For 55 years, Disney World has controlled an area of Florida called the Reedy Creek Improvement District, which sounds so boring, you know there's something shady about it. All of Disney's theme parks are in the district. Since it owns pretty much all the land, Disney elects all of the district's board of supervisors who make all the decisions, which is a bit controversial, since some of them aren't even human. Like a regular city, it fixes roads, collects taxes, and has its own building codes. Basically, corporatocracy at its finest. In this district, Disney has about 25,000 acres, including 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, 1 sports complex, and 175 lane miles of roadway. So how did this happen? Back in the 1960s, when Disney was looking at opening an East Coast theme park, it settled on land in central Florida. Walt Disney, the person, not the company, reportedly wanted complete control of the land after he saw the neighborhood around his California theme park become over-commercialized. Although Walt Disney complaining about something being over-commercialized is like Ron Burgundy complaining about sexism. That's what you do. It's your brand. At the time, Disney had a lot to offer Florida. The company was buying swampland and promising to bring jobs, tourism, and a lot of tax revenue. So Disney asked for some special privileges, such as essentially being its own government. But Walt Disney didn't just want to build a theme park. He wanted to build a city of the future.
The most exciting, the most important part of our Florida project, in fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World, will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow. We call it Epcot.
It sounded cool, a climate-controlled city under a dome connected by monorail, a city where people would always be experimenting with cutting-edge technology. And that was one reason Disney pushed for Reedy Creek to have its own government, because he actually meant to build a complete city there. But that never happened. Walt Disney died in 1966, and Epcot was never built, until Disney the corporation turned Epcot into a theme park. An idealistic, cutting-edge technology planned to benefit mankind that ended up as a hollow, entertainment-focused shell of itself? Epcot is basically the internet. But even though Disney the corporation no longer wanted to build a city, they still wanted to be their own government. And they got the Florida state legislature to almost unanimously approve it. Florida's governor signed it into law in 1967. When you have enough money and power, it's a small government after all. The Reedy Creek Improvement District allowed the Disney Corporation to build Disney World with hardly any oversight. It didn't have to follow local building codes or get approvals from the local government. It had its own building codes and approved its own projects, which explains why they have a mansion with 999 ghosts in it. That's definitely a fire hazard. Now, in exchange, Disney took care of things like emergency services, fixing the roads, and generating power. Instead of a bustling city, though, only 53 people live in the district. All of them are Disney employees. To patrol the area, Disney has its own security. It also rents police officers from the county governments. So Disney got its own city by lobbying the Florida government. And some say Disney lost it the same way. I'll tell you how after the break. Welcome back. For more than 50 years, Disney World has had a special status in Florida, similar to the Vatican status in Rome. They get to do whatever they want and don't have to pay as much in tax. No wonder they're the most magical place on earth. And that magic is money. But last Friday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill ending that special status. So what did Disney do to make Florida lawmakers and DeSantis want to punish it? Many say it was retaliation for Disney's stance on the state's Parental Rights in Education bill, which critics have dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill. It prevents Florida schools from teaching about gender identity and sexual orientation below 4th grade. We did a video on it, which I'll put a link to in the description below. DeSantis signed that bill into law last month despite pressure from Disney. Ironically, though, it was Disney's initial silence on the bill that arguably got it into this mess in the first place. Protesters in Florida and California called on Disney to take a public stand against the bill. But Disney CEO Bob Chapek told Disney employees that corporate statements do very little to change outcomes or minds. Instead, they are often weaponized by one side or the other to further divide and inflame. Yeah, when has corporate influence ever swayed the government? Said the guy in charge of a self-governing corporate entity. But Chapek's statement wasn't enough for Disney employees. They organized a series of walkouts in protest. One of their complaints was that Disney had made campaign donations to all the sponsors of the bill, which Disney didn't deny. It just pointed out that it also donated to opponents of the bill. I guess Disney's message to all Florida politicians is, "You ain't never had a friend like me." However, under pressure, Chapek promised to change that. He said Disney would pause all political donations in the state, and that Disney would increase support for advocacy groups to combat similar legislation in other states. Behind the scenes, Disney got involved in other ways. Early on, Disney did speak with the governor's office about the bill. Disney's lobbyists also worked with Republican Senator Jeff Brandes to amend the bill in the Senate, which didn't work. And after it passed the Senate, Chapek told shareholders he personally called the governor about his concerns, which also didn't work. DeSantis probably hasn't forgiven Disney for all the trauma he experienced watching the first 10 minutes of Up. No, keep it together, Matt. You can do this. Okay. So Disney worked both publicly and behind the scenes to prevent the so-called Don't Say Gay bill from passing. But that still wasn't enough to save them from bad press. And in the end, the bill passed anyway. So did Disney's lobbying attempts backfire? Did DeSantis and the Florida legislature retaliate against Disney? More after the break. Welcome back. Disney tried to stop a Florida education bill from passing, the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. Then, less than 2 months later, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill revoking Disney World's special status as the owner of its own city. Oh no, does this mean the Disney princesses are no longer princesses and will have to get real jobs? I don't feel like ordering a burger from Cinderella and having it made by talkative mice, though. Many have accused Republicans of singling out Disney for political retaliation. And they may be right. You see, there are other special districts like Disney's Reedy Creek Improvement District in Florida. But the law was written in such a way that it only applies to some of them. It targets districts established before November 5th, 1968, and Reedy Creek was established just 1 year before that. That date was purportedly chosen because it's when Florida's current constitution was ratified. But it's kind of suspicious, especially when the governor says things like this about Disney.
They pledged themselves to mobilize their considerable corporate resources out of the coffers of this Burbank, California-based corporation to overturn the rights of parents in the state of Florida, and effectively commandeer our democratic process. And so that obviously is something that we very much objected to.
It kind of sounds like DeSantis is punishing Disney for going woke and sending a warning to other corporations as well. And that warning is basically, keep your mouth shut or we'll stop letting you bribe us with campaign donations. How noble and brave. The bill's sponsor in the House, made the legislation sound like even more of a political shakedown.
Disney is learning that they are a guest in this state. We have given them special privileges that they're not entitled to for 55 years. And it's time for them to remember that we are not California, and they're a California company, and we're not interested in their California values.
And here's the Republican leader of the Florida Senate.
The idea that kindergartners, first, second, and third graders are going to be inundated with sexual orientation and transgenderism, we're not going to tolerate that in Florida. And so by Disney putting this front and center on their cultural chart, it led to us taking a look at what special privileges does Disney have.
Florida doesn't need to get woke, mainly because with the amount of meth in that state, they never sleep. Now, the other reason these politicians give is that the bill is to even the playing field in Florida for other theme park operators. Universal, SeaWorld, and Legoland do not have special districts like Disney does.
Well, over many, many decades, Brian, they've gotten incredible treatment from the Florida legislature, and they are treated on a pedestal. This one corporation is treated differently than everybody else.
So by ending its special tax status, they're just making things fair. Although they haven't offered to give the other theme parks their own city for 55 years just to make up for lost time. Just saying. Now, in theory, Disney could get its special tax district back. Florida's lieutenant governor said they can reapply for status next year.
This was passed in 1967. Maybe it made sense then. Does it make sense now? That'll be something that the legislature will have to decide.
It might still make political sense, since Florida taxpayers might be left with a giant debt bomb after Disney's special status is revoked. That's because, like other municipalities, Reedy Creek has the ability to take on public debt. State lawmakers estimate that Disney has almost $1 billion in debt that would be transferred to taxpayers when it loses its special status. That debt would fall to residents of Orange and Osceola counties, which Disney straddles. Osceola County said after the bill passed, it didn't know exactly what impact dissolving the district would have. Orange County's tax collector said it could raise residents' county tax bill by 10 to 20%. Governor DeSantis said he didn't expect it to raise taxes in any part of Florida. The counties have more than a year to figure out that, though. Disney won't lose its special status until June 2023. And there could be legal challenges before then. Some legal experts say Disney has a good case if it tries to sue Florida for violating its First Amendment. And you do not want to mess with Disney's lawyers. They're real sharks, and mice, and lions, and mermaids. Or Disney World could leave Florida. They've already got an invite to move to Texas, although I'm not sure they would fare much better there. Texas's lieutenant governor says he wants to create his own version of Florida's Parental Rights and Education bill, the Don't Say Gay bill. More importantly, though, the entire situation has brought to light just how much influence the Disney Corporation has on Florida politics. It used its political influence to get its own city in 1967, and has used political influence to get its way in the state legislature many times since then. Disney gets to basically look at Florida and say, everything the light touches is our magic kingdom. Should a corporation have that much influence over lawmaking? After all, the corporation's CEO and board of directors are not elected by the public. They're elected by the shareholders to do one job, to make money for the Disney company. And Disney's biggest shareholder, Scrooge McDuck. So what do you think? Should corporations like Disney have so much lobbying power? Let us know in the comments below. And unfortunately, America Uncovered does not have billions of dollars and armies of lobbyists at our disposal. We rely on viewers like you to make the show possible. So please head over to our Patreon page or join us on Locals so that we can keep making great episodes. The links are below. I'm Matt Gnezda. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.